This episode of Southeastern Health Headlines is made possible through the kind support of North Oaks Health, improving lives every time, every touch.
Sometimes life can get pretty noisy. School bells, team practices, and the music you love to play. But when something doesn't sound right, everything feels off. That's why at North Oaks Health, we listen first. Our ENTs take the time to understand, because when you hear clearly again, you can get back to doing what you love.
Our purpose is understanding,
so I can hear every note.
North Oaks Health. Our patients, our purpose.
Welcome to Southeastern Health Headlines, an informed discussion about medical topics of interest to the Southeastern student community. I'm your host, Sophia Daniels, and I'm joined today by North Oaks Outpatient Nutrition and Diabetes Education Manager, Tracy Brazan. Thank you so much for being here today with us, Tracy.
Hi, Sophia. It's so nice to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us today in our studio. So, for our viewers who may not be familiar with your work, do you think you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and what led you to become a nutrition and diabetes education manager?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been a dietitian for about 10 years now. I was a Southeastern grad in kinesiology, and after graduating, I was kind of in the world of what am I going to do? And so then that's where I found my passion for love and nutrition while I was working at a health club. And so I decided to explore that opportunity of becoming a registered dietitian. And so through my journey as a registered dietitian, I completed my internship where I got to do 1,300 hours of hands-on supervised experience in community and clinical and food service. So I was able to see a wide variety of different avenues where a dietitian could work. And so from that, then I found that some areas that I was really interested in. And so at the end of the day, I really just wanted to help people become the healthiest version of themselves through collaboration and education, and really help them to create a healthy foundation, as well as to really focus on working on preventing some of those preventable diseases like diabetes and heart disease. And so that's what led me to this position now as the outpatient nutrition and diabetes education manager at North Oaks.
So what are the challenges that you see with college students and their diets today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in college, a lot of times students get a little overwhelmed by their busy schedules. There might be some financial constraints. There might be lack of healthy options on campus. But at the end of the day, sometimes students just don't really know how to make that healthy choice just because of a lack of nutrition information.
And what could a balanced meal look like for a regular college student? Even if you don't have time to cook, what is the best thing for a college student to do to have that nutrition?
That's a really great question, Sophia. So when you think about it, first what we want to do is that we want to kind of say, before we get into that balanced plate, what do we put on that plate? And what are those food groups that we need to put on the plate, right? So when we think about it, we think about our macronutrients. So we think about things like carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in our diet. Can you tell me any carbohydrates, or what's your favorite carbohydrate?
So I know the carbohydrates is pasta, and then the fats would be like a cheese.
Yeah.
And then the protein would be like a meat, like steak, chicken,
yeah,
stuff like that.
Absolutely. So when we think about carbohydrates are going to be those things that are broken down in our body into glucose or into sugar. And then what we can do is that we can convert that into energy. So when we think of carbohydrates, we think of things like pasta, rice, potatoes, our fruits, our whole grains, and then some of our dairy products as well. Other things that are carbohydrates are going to be more of our junk food type thing, or I guess college student staples, right?
Yeah.
Chips, pretzels, cookies, candy, rice, and pasta. Ideally, we want to stick with those healthier options or those complex or quality carbohydrates when we think about it. So when we think about a quality carbohydrate on our plate, we're thinking about something that might be a sweet potato or a regular potato, green peas or corn, maybe some lentils or oats or different things like that when we think about that plate. So when we see our plate and we're looking at it, we're thinking, okay, well, we want half of that plate or a quarter of that plate to be some of those quality carbohydrates. When we think about it next, we think about that source of protein on our plate, right? And that source of protein, you said it perfectly, chicken, steak, meat, right? Protein helps to fill us up and it helps to kind of reduce some of those cravings that we might have. So ideally, we want to pick sources of lean protein in our diet. So lean protein would be poultry without the skin on it, lean beef or lean pork. This could also be any of our seafood options in South Louisiana. It could also be plant-based protein. Beans, legumes, tofu, and tempeh are going to be those sources of like plant-based proteins. So when we think about that, we want to pick those sources of lean protein and put it on our plate. And we're typically going to have about 3 to 5 ounce serving of that on our plate, or about the size of the palm of our hand when we think about it. The last category is going to be fat. So fat, we think about those unhealthy things first, like butter and cream and cheese and different things like that. Ideally, we want to incorporate healthy fats in our diet. So avocado oil, avocados, olive oil, fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, or tuna. This could also be nuts and seeds in our diet as well. So we've talked about protein, we've talked about carbohydrates, and we've talked about fat. The last thing that I want to tell you about is about starchy vegetables versus non-starchy vegetables. A lot of people come into my office for counseling and they don't really know the difference of it or how it plays into our body. When we think about a non-starchy vegetable, well, that's going to be a vegetable that's full of vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals and fiber. So all of the really good things that we want in our diet, right? So broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, green beans, asparagus, cucumbers, tomatoes, kale, spinach. Do you like any of those
I like
things?
all of those. I love all of those.
Yeah, and so we want to make sure that we're including those on our plate. The other category is those starchy vegetables or quality carbohydrates like we were talking about earlier. Those starchy vegetables help to give us energy. Those starchy vegetables are our sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, green peas, or corn, or plantains, all fall into that starchy vegetable category. So now let's talk a little bit about that balanced plate, right? So when we look at our plate, we want to include protein. It can be animal protein, dairy, or plant-based protein. We want to include fiber, so ideally vegetables, right? And then we want to include one of those quality carbohydrates. So you're probably thinking in your head, what does that look like on a plate, right? And what if I don't cook? What does that look like? Well, so say we're going to Chick-fil-A, right? Okay. We have a Chick-fil-A on campus. So we go to Chick-fil-A and we say, okay, well, I want to get the grilled nuggets instead of the fried nuggets. Maybe I'm going to choose to do the side salad with it or the kale salad, right? Because we're trying to get in those leafy green vegetables. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call French fries a quality carbohydrate, but what if we trade those French fries out for maybe their fruit salad? What do you think about that meal?
I think it sounds good. I get everything grilled just because your body needs the nutrients, not the fried and
not the extra fat
stuff
and
like
fried.
That. Yeah. And how do you think college students can eat in a healthier way if they struggle like financially?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we always want to try to use that balance plate whenever we can. And so when I'm talking to someone and that might be an issue, I always try to talk about what are some cost-saving ideas in order to kind of help them out a little bit with that. So when you think about that, you know, and thinking about, well, how can I save a little extra money when I'm going grocery shopping? making a meal plan, right? Making a meal plan, or at least having an idea of a couple things that you do want to eat that week, making that grocery shopping list and then sticking to it. So we're not doing all that impulse buying. Choosing a store brand product rather than a brand name product is where we can also save some money. Using leftovers whenever possible. We can also think about, going to a bulk store, right? But going in with a couple of different friends and saying, okay, well, we're going to buy a pack of chicken, but everybody's putting in for the chicken and then everybody's getting some of it, to where you can save a little bit that way. Not buying prepackaged, pre-cut, pre-portioned things, because that's going to generally have a higher price tag on it as well. And so those are just kind of some cost saving ideas that I like to share with people. If, finances are still an option, Southeastern does offer the Roomy Pride Pantry as an on-campus food pantry for students, which I also think is a great option. And so in that case, still trying to focus on protein, fiber, and quality carbohydrates. So maybe they have the tuna pouches in the food pantry. Well, maybe I could do the tuna as my protein source. Maybe I can get a can of green beans from there. That can be my vegetable. And then maybe they've got some whole grain or lentil pasta. That could also be an option for one of those quality carbohydrates. So 100%, your diet does play into how you're able to perform academically, how you're able to focus, and the energy that you have throughout the day. And so, choosing those healthier options, packing healthy snacks so that you have those available, are all things that you want to do. And you want to keep that balance plate in mind whenever you can. But a thing that's definitely overlooked is sleep with our college students, right? And so, yeah, we might be eating really well, but if we're not developing that healthy sleep routine, then, we're really just not going to perform optimally, right? So I always try to encourage people or my students to really work on developing healthy sleep habits. So getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, removing those distractions, putting down the phone at least 30 minutes to an hour before bedtime, so that we can kind of just turn things off and calm down and sleep. So because when we are able to get that quality sleep and that quality rest, then we're going to perform better, right? We're going to have more energy, we're going to be able to stay focused, and we're going to perform better.
Yeah. So Tracy, what would you say are some healthy snacks that college students could carry in their backpacks, considering that it's on the go, or maybe it needs to be refrigerated, stuff like that?
Yeah, well, as a college student, I definitely think, investing in a lunchbox is something that's really good, especially if you're going to get into the habit of maybe bringing your lunch from home. But snacks that I have with me all the time, I love IQ or RX bars. I'll usually have some type of nuts, so pistachios, almonds, pecans, and then I'll pair that with a fruit, so like a cutie, something like that. If I have a refrigerator or I can keep something cold, I might do Greek yogurt. I love the new grab and go drinkable yogurts that do have protein in them. So striving to get one that has at least 15 to 20 grams of protein and no added sugar is definitely going to be a great choice. I love hummus and vegetables or crackers. Grass-fed beef jerky is another one if you're looking for protein, boiled eggs, different things like that. Seeded crackers or whole wheat crackers, and then pairing them with a hummus or guacamole or a nut butter are all really great options. We want to try to stay away from imitation fruit, so like fruit snacks or chips or pretzels or something that's just going to be one of those simple carbohydrates. So at snack time too, we want to try to focus on protein and fiber.
What about the fruit, the dried fruit, that's a lot of added sugar.
Yeah, so it's definitely looking at those nutrition labels in terms of the fruit that does have added sugar in it versus doesn't. So a lot of times raisins and cranberries are going to have added sugar, but if you're picking something more like an apricot or a prune, it's going to have more of its natural sugar. So when you look at that food and nutrition label, you want to turn over, look at it on the back, and you want to look and see, does this food item contain any added sugar? Of course it might have natural sugar, but the key word that you're looking for, especially with your dried fruit, is going to be added sugar. And does it contain that added sugar in it?
Is skipping breakfast for college students okay?
So I always recommend that students have breakfast, because when you have a healthy breakfast, you're setting yourself up for success for the day in terms of your focus and your concentration and your energy level. Now, sometimes we oversleep, right? Or we're running late to class. And so even grabbing something quick and easy, like maybe some of those snack items that we just reviewed, or doing overnight oats to where you've prepped it ahead of time, yogurt and berries, or even a smoothie that has protein in it, are definitely great ways that we can still have something in the morning time, but not take a lot of time out of our day.
Yeah, I know a lot of college students skip breakfast. I personally skip breakfast, so. And how important is it for college students to stay hydrated, especially in Louisiana? It's really, really hot.
Especially in South Louisiana. So we should definitely strive to be, drinking water throughout the day for us. And so, drinking water helps with our energy level and our concentration, or if we're feeling tired, just drinking some cold water is a great way to wake up. Ideally, our goal is 64 ounces of water per day. Now, of course, if we are outside where it's hot, or it's a hot summer day, if we're doing activity, if we're exercising, we might need to increase that a little bit more. The best indicator for telling how hydrated you are is really the color of your pee, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the goal is to have it to be pale yellow to clear whenever we are going to the bathroom. If we're seeing those darker colors, then we definitely want to add in some additional glasses of water.
Yeah.
When we're thinking about our hydration, water is always going to be the best choice, but sometimes we get tired of drinking water. So trying to get in some of those unsweetened beverages, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we're doing unsweet tea, maybe we're doing water with lemon or lime, like an infused water. Maybe we're adding something to our water. So maybe we're adding some Crystal Light, or we're doing True Lemon or True Lime as a way to flavor it. Maybe we're doing an electrolyte packet as an option as well. And so any of those are great options, as well as an unsweetened sparkling water is a great way to work on your hydration and not just have plain water.
And I think this is our last question. What are the simple first steps a college student can take to improve their diet without feeling overwhelmed?
Oh, such a great question. When you think about it, making those easy, simple steps first. So a lot of times when I'm counseling people, I will tell them, make a list of all your favorite proteins, make a list of all your favorite vegetables, make a list of your quality carbohydrates that you like. Then from that list, start to pull the things that you want to eat on a daily basis. So maybe start with saying, okay, at breakfast in the morning, I know that this week I'm going to choose to have overnight oats. So then when I'm making my grocery shopping list, I'm saying, okay, let me make sure I have all the ingredients for overnight oats, because when we're planning, we're making that list and then we're going to the grocery store, we're setting ourselves up for success by just making this small first step of saying, I am choosing to eat breakfast this week. If that's not an option for you, maybe it's that you look at your current diet and you say, you know what? I really drink a lot of soda or a lot of sugar sweetened beverages like juice and different things like that. Maybe I want to work on adding one additional just plain glass of water each day, or maybe I'll have one less soda per day. When I go to a restaurant, maybe I'm going to pick baked or grilled over fried. Right now, if I'm a college student and I don't eat any vegetables, maybe I might set a goal for myself to say, hey, let me go ahead and add one vegetable at dinner, not at every meal, at dinner every night, right? And so it's those small healthy changes that can really make an impact later on in your life and reduce your risk of chronic disease by making those healthy choices now during these important years.
And is there anything else you would like to add that we didn't talk about that you would like to tell a college student or anyone that's watching or anything like that?
Yeah, I encourage you to really just look at your current diet, and based off the things that we talked about today, are you using that plate method? Are you focusing in on protein, fiber, and those healthy carbohydrates on your plate? If not, start there. Maybe you want to work on your hydration. Start there. It's all of these small changes that can really make a big difference.
Yeah, the small steps, and then it leads into something bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it.
All right, well, thank you so much, Tracy.
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Join us next time for Southeastern Health Headlines, an informed discussion about medical topics of interest to the Southeastern student community. I'm your host, Sophia Daniels. Thanks for watching.